Hello, everyone. My name is Abigail Newkirk, a former soccer student athlete and Division III Student Athlete Advisory Committee member, and I'm here with my co-host, RJ.
Hi, I'm RJ Nealon, Special Olympics North America athlete reporter.
Welcome to A Decade of Inclusion, a series where RJ and I will share 10 stories to represent 10 years of a very impactful partnership between Special Olympics and NCAA Division III.
We're celebrating 10 years of inclusion between Special Olympics and NCAA Division III this year. Since the beginning of this unique partnership, over 85,000 NCAA student athletes and over 127,000 Special Olympic athletes have shared unified experiences, spread inclusion, and created memories of a lifetime.
With us today, we have the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference, or HCAC Commissioner Jay Jones, and Special Olympics Indiana Unified Sports Director, Mike Hasch. Both Jay and Mike have been impactful in encouraging and hosting Special Olympics activities throughout the conference and in Indiana.
Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you with us here today.
So Jay, it's great to see you again. For those of you who do not know, I was an HCAC student athlete, since then graduated, but Jay and I worked closely together for SAC and many other conference initiated projects. So Jay, can you tell us about how the HCAC supports or encourages Special Olympics events? Maybe even talk about how the conference got started in participating in these events.
Yeah, absolutely, Abby. Thank you. So, for the HCAC, really it comes down to the fact that our conference SAC members and our administrators are just totally bought into this relationship, top to bottom throughout the league. The relationship started with our former commissioner, Chris Ragsdale, and we had a former football official whose name is Mike Furnish. And those two just had a labor of love for this partnership and worked to develop and strengthen it. And then from there, the rest of our league and all the members are just bought in, and they continue to buy into the partnership, and it's grown and matured. And, I've been here now just over two years, about 2.5 years. And my job is just not to mess up the great work that they did and the enthusiasm that I found for the Special Olympic partnership when I came into the job.
If I can add to that, if you're not familiar with who Mike Furnish is the retired CEO president of Special Olympics Indiana. So that was a great connection.
And on our side, Mike, he was one of our what those that know the football world know as a white hat. So one of our lead officials, and usually in a year we have 7 or 8 of those. So that's one of the head officials in the league, and so very well connected on both sides of the partnership, and that helped to grow it.
Thank you for sharing, Jay. Now, Mike, from your perspective, how does the HCAC support and encourage engagement with Special Olympics Indiana athletes throughout the state? And how has it grown over the years?
This partnership that developed long before I arrived at Special Olympics has been something special that I've been a part of the past 3 years. I cannot express the gratitude that we have with Jay and Stacy coming in and being great leaders in the support they provide for our athletes and encouraging them to be involved with the collegiate unified sports events. The greatest thing that we saw was the pivoting of COVID and how we weren't able to do the 2021 January-March Unified Bowling Championship, but what we were able to do was to do unified trivia. And because of that, there was so much positive feedback from the HCAC student athletes and SAC members that we are now have created our second event in partnership with the HCAC. So, we've always thought about and talked about how coming together was our beginning. Us keeping together has been progress, and then working together has been such great success for both of us.
Yeah, that's great. And the Special Olympics trivia night was just awesome. The virtual component just didn't even put a damper on the night. So yeah, that was a great evening. So Jay, how has the HCAC's partnership with Special Olympics and Special Olympics Indiana been influential to both the Special Olympics athletes and our conference athletes?
Yeah, I think, Abby, for me, the best answer I can give is just, it's every time we have an event, or every time that we talk about the partnership or our memories with Special Olympics, it's just smiles and joy and these great memories. And especially during the pandemic, as Mike mentioned, I mean, that lifted us up, and these were the exciting things. And the relationships just grown, and you get, the pandemic forced us to be creative, but it also gave us something to do in the semester or school term where we're not doing our bowling event, which we'll talk about in a minute. So, you know, the creative part that came about it from the pandemic was awesome. And then Mike mentioned Stacy Ledoux's our conference SWA, and she's just really passionate about this relationship as well. And one day she said, Jay, what if we had some of our coaches meetings at Mike's office, and we've made good friends with Mike and his team. And so now we're even having some of our HCAC coaches meetings at the Special Olympics Indiana office, which drives home for our coaches the importance of the relationship, but also reminds them that it's a partnership. We help each other. And so that's really cool, because that just makes us feel more like we're in this together. And so again, one thing, as Mike said best, one thing kind of builds on another, and the relationship just, as you can see, I mean, it's just genuine smiles and fantastic memories that it creates.
That's really important to hear, Jay. The impact goes far beyond the court or field. Mike, what impact have you seen from Special Olympic athletes, and do you have a favorite memory?
So in my role, I work a lot with the high schools also, but what I've seen different from the collegiate aspect is, obviously you have older general ed students, and their maturity to have meaningful inclusion with our athletes is very impactful. And that goes beyond just the field or the court. It's, you know, some of them are following up later, keeping in touch with them, and still continue to include them in some outside events. So I don't know if it's necessarily I have a favorite memory, but it's all of the positive feedback that we receive from the county program leaders whose athletes are partnered with the HCAC. And that's what brings the smile, knows that the work and effort we put into this is absolutely worth it, and hope that we're just creating lasting memories for not only the athletes, but also the partners, because ultimately down the road, we want to continue those students to be involved as they graduate out of college and continue in adulthood.
Guess you can use me as an example, right, Mike? I had to come back this year one last time, right?
Absolutely, and we love that.
It was great to be back. So Jay, going off of that, the HCAC hosts a unique event every year, the HCAC Special Olympics Unified Bowling Championship. So can you tell everyone a bit about how the event got started, and maybe talk about how the conference made it an actual championship event?
Yeah. So first of all, this event predates me, or my time, I should say, it doesn't predate me. It predates my time with the HCAC. And so I want to make sure I give credit where it's due here. Again, Mike Furnish, and to his absolute credit, our former commissioner, Commissioner Chris Ragsdale, kind of came up with this event. And here's what he did that's just really made a difference and made it work. Every single part of the event, when they put it together and they organized it, he said it needs to just be another conference championship. And it wasn't just another conference championship, it has to be the same as every other conference championship. So from trophies that we give to all conference recognition and all conference team members, every single bit of it comes down to being run and held in the same way we would any HCAC championship. And what that does is it raises the level of gravity and importance. And then when you get there and you start participating in the bowling, the fun and the dance competitions and the other things that go with Special Olympics unified events happen. So our schools take it really seriously. I think that's, again, what the magic was and how the buy-in was so universal. And so, and then I came in and two things. Selfishly, I will tell you that besides our cross-country and track events, this event each year is one of the only times that all 10 of our schools have student athletes together and they're all competing together. And because it's a fun and exciting event, it does give our student athletes a sense of belonging to something bigger. And we talk about unified sports in the concept of unifying Special Olympics student athletes with Division III student athletes. In this case, it unifies our league as well. So when I started, a really funny thing happened about this event, though. This event continually comes up in every conversation as I'm going around and meeting people in the league and talking about what we can do better, what we don't change, and all these things. And this event came up so very much. It's basically just don't mess this thing up. So about the only thing I have changed from what Commissioner Ragsdale built is that I do enjoy mascots, and I did convince prior to the pandemic our schools to each bring their mascot, and we had a little dance off, and that was really popular too. But it was just, again, the idea was, how do we raise the event so that you would bring your mascot to a conference championship? Let's do it the same way. So anyway, just love the event, and because it's a conference championship like our others, there's pure buy-in.
That is so great. Bowling is a sport that everyone can be a part of. Mike, how has the conference level approach amplified involvement?
Well, number one, the fact that it is identical to any other conference championship is awesome, because we want to create a same environment for the students with intellectual disabilities to be a part of. And by doing that, they feel like this is awesome. I'm involved in a collegiate championship. I bring value to my team. I don't think there is space for another person to be put into this, because every school is maxed with participants, and that's the coolest thing. I don't know if that's possible at all the other championships, since that's the Jays area, but it makes it unique in that the Special Olympic athletes are competing for a collegiate championship with 10 of the teams that represent the Hcac.
And just like you said, Mike, I mean, there are some student athletes who don't get to be on the bowling rosters, and people are all in. Like Jay said, people just buy into the whole event every year, and it's really awesome. And like we said, during the COVID year, everyone was like, when is this going to be a thing again? Because it was hard not to have it. So yeah.
And that's awesome to hear from from your standpoint, being a former student athlete and SAC member. And I will add, the mascots was really cool. And I even had 2 questions this year. Hey, are the mascots coming? And I go, I'm not sure, maybe not this year, but I'm sure they're coming back.
They'll absolutely be back. I hold, I don't ask favors too often because I only save them for the important things. Mascots at competition is huge. So you got to have it.
That's awesome.
That's a great touch to the event for you, Jay. So Jay or Mike, or both of you, how would you encourage other conferences or even colleges, universities, or Mike, in your case, even some high schools who might watch this interview around the nation to engage in Special Olympics activities or events?
Well, one of the first things that I always tell one of the athletic directors that I meet with is, I'm going to tell you exactly what I said a year after the fact. Why didn't we get involved sooner? Why did it take me so long? Or I wish I would have done this earlier and someone would have told me about it. So, it is the greatest event. And as a former high school athletic administrator, it was the unified sports was the best sport that I had ever been involved in or created a team with at the high school I was representing. And I said, why didn't we do this earlier? I wish we'd have known about it. It changed the culture of our school, but it gave the athletes with intellectual disabilities a purpose, a name, a face. They weren't invisible. They had teammates. They got to wear their colors of their school, the name of the school on their chest. Some of them earned varsity letters. Some of them got lettermen or letterwomen jackets. It was by far the coolest opportunity that I was ever involved in. And I never had a parent calling, complaining about playing time or chirping my ear that their son or daughter was being treated unfairly, because this was about inclusion and meaningful inclusion. So that has been something that's always resonated with me.
On my end, I think what I would say is we have to take a lesson away from the ADs and the original kind of visionaries in the HCAC of how do we support Special Olympics. And that lesson to me is, if you're going to talk about inclusion, it goes beyond including each other as people. It's including this partnership as a part of who we are as an organization. And that's what they did. And I think as I thought about, what do you say to other conferences or institutions that want to get involved? The answer is, I am certain that those original folks that envisioned the bowling championship and some of the things we've done with Special Olympics fought some battles there. I'm certain that people said it can't be a normal conference championship. I'm sure of that. And yet what that fight that they put in shows is, if you include it and you truly buy into the concept of inclusion within your conference or institution's mission, ultimately you put it on your calendars, you put it in your regular operations, there will not only be buy-in, and in this case, then you turn to what Mike just said, the intrinsic rewards of the Special Olympics partnership, that's what keeps it going. So it's that initial little bit of a fight to, how do we make this a normal part of who we are? And the rest of it will take care of itself. So that's what I would share.
Now it's time for the rapid fire questions. what are the first three words that come to your mind when you think about inclusion?
Friendship, respect, and this is a hyphen word, servant leadership.
He stole one of mine, so I would say, but which is great. So I would say friendship, learning, and growth.
Perfect. Here's your next one. What is your favorite quote about inclusion?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. I don't, I guess I don't just walk around with quotes in my head, actually, Abby. And I know that's really hard for you to believe, but it's true. So no, I don't know. I will say this, and I said it with my three words. To me, it's about when you're inclusive, you take that person's talents and all their wisdom and growth in the way that they live their lives, and in talking and developing friendships just gives you that wisdom. So it's like reading a million books at once, and that's the way I've always felt about inclusion. Is look, the more vastly different your life is from mine day to day, the more that you're going to teach me and that I can soak up. So that's really cool.
So I'm a big quote person. Every day at practice, we always end with a quote, whether that might be on leadership or inclusion or what that might be. So this quote comes from, I would say, my mentor, Lee Lonzo, who was part of the initiation of the Unified Champion Schools program in Indiana. And he said, acceptance is someone coming to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. And when I think about that, there's a lot of value to that. So that's one that resonates with me.
I love that quote too, Mike.
Those quotes are awesome. Thank you for all you've done to support and enable this inclusive movement between Special Olympics and NCAA Division III.